I think there's nothing more real than Zach Krager in an interview saying that he finds children in horror movies so creepy, so that's why he thought it would be a great idea to make a movie about creepy children. I felt that in my heart. Children in horror movies are just the creepiest thing ever. If you watched Weapons, I'm gonna talk a bit about how I felt about it and just some thoughts I had that maybe you had too. If you didn't watch it, maybe don't watch this because I'm just gonna be going into spoilers all over the place and I don't want to ruin the experience for you. Honestly, I wish I could erase it from my mind and watch it again because it was such a vibe to see it for the first time, to the extent where I was so, it felt like a fever dream, and I was so loopy after watching it that I had to watch it again the next day just to process it completely. Yeah, Weapons, the movie that is currently sparking so many conversations online, so many of them being absolutely obnoxious and devoid of any kind of understanding of media literacy. But still, many other discussions that are great and we love to see it. Because Zach Rager didn't give everyone spoon fed what he made the movie about in his head, then people are telling each other that no, that's not what it is because it wasn't confirmed. Like, people don't understand what interpretation is and what headcanons are and theories that you made yourself. And I'm witnessing people fight each other over no, that's not what it is because he didn't say it is, so it's not. I'm being a bitch about it, I'm sorry. It's just annoying. Let's just all interpret the movies the way we want. That's what the director wants. He didn't say what he made the movie about because he wants everyone to just interpret it in the way they want to interpret it. I myself really was thinking about the idea of parentification with what happened with Alex and what his life became. I was thinking about the idea of obviously a parasite getting into your family or a really bad person from your family kind of taking over your life and destroying that good loving family from the inside. We had different moments in the movie where they were talking about parasites and how they infiltrate and how they take over the hosts. And I think there's so many points and so many ideas that you can latch on and theorize on and expand upon, that saying this is correct and this is not, it's a bit reductive because you can take it in so many ways. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So the first thing I really loved about the movie was the atmosphere. I think it did such a great job at creating these heavy atmosphere at points and this very disorienting feeling. Last year I saw Longlegs and it really creeped me out. For some reason it made me feel very uneasy and I went out of it with the exact same feeling that I had after watching Weapons, which is feeling like I was just in a fever dream and not confused about the movie, but just confused cognitively, I would say. It felt like something more than a movie, like I was experiencing something that I needed a moment to process, which is why I saw the movie twice in 2 days because I needed to process it. And I believe that the atmosphere did a great job at that because it was heavy, it was feeling like you're being watched. Every time in the way that they filmed and they manipulated the camera, I felt like there was someone waiting around each corner. Every time they moved the camera, I was expecting something to jump out. And in that same vein, I really think that they did a great job with the jump scares. I didn't feel like they were cheap or unearned or just for the sake of raising your anxiety. Like people sometimes reduce horror movies to just cheap jump scares and gore for the sake of, just scaring you. And I think that's annoying because, first of all, there's so many ways to do horror. And second of all, you can use jump scares in a very effective way for the plot and not just to scare people every 10 minutes, 5 minutes. And I believe that weapons actually use them very well in the moments that the tension was high, and I found them unexpected because many times watching so much horror you get used to the clues of where the jump scare is gonna come from. You know the tells. You have to watch a bit of horror and you start knowing the tells of a jump scare that's gonna come. And that's why every time someone closed the door or was in front of a mirror or the camera did this twice, every time I was waiting for something to jump out and I was tensing, I I came out of that theater. My back was hurting from how much my muscles were tensed because of expecting the jump scares. But the jump scares that actually came into the movie weren't at the moments where I can tell it's gonna be a jump scare. Sometimes maybe if you really spend the whole time just tensed about it, but it wasn't like paying off jump scare every time it could have, because it could have put a jump scare every single scene in the way they filmed it, but they didn't. I feel like they created attention, but they only put jump scares where it made sense. And honestly, I think it speaks to how good the movie is that I saw it the next day, knowing fully well exactly where the jump scares were, exactly what was gonna happen, exactly how things looked on screen, and I was still jumping and I still got really creeped out by it. I think that speaks to the movie being well made. Talking about the inspirations of this movie, the first thing that came to my mind was The Shining, which is confirmed to be an inspiration, not only because Alex's story very much kind of mirrors Danny's in The Shining, where his family turns into a situation that is not safe and he kind of has to survive this sudden shift in his life. But also, when I saw the number 217, I thought about The Shining because 217 is in the book the number of that room that in the movie is 237. And when we talk about Gladys as well, we know that Krager made this as kind of an allegory to alcoholism, and that Gladys infiltrates this family and creates the same problems that alcoholism would, where the child has to start taking care of their parents. And I was thinking about this during the movie, about this idea of parentification, where he not only had to take care of his parents but also the other children. He had to do everything and hold everything together with this emotional maturity that he shouldn't have needed to have at his young age. And Zach Krager talks about pulling from his life experience and his childhood and his own family issues for this. And I think it feels very real and very raw the way he is telling that story. It's clear that Gladys is that secret in the families, that many families have a secret, a bad relative, a dark thing happening in the family, someone with a problem, but they're hiding it just like Gladys is hiding in plain sight because no one is bringing that to the forefront. And Alex, as a child, has to cope with it but cannot talk about it. And that's very realistic because if you had an issue in the family, you wouldn't, as the child, go and talk about it. The problems in the family become something that you as the child have to survive through and hold on to whatever you can, whatever remnants of the life you had before this problem appeared. There's also a book and a story you can find on the internet. It's called The Third Parent. It's a really dark and graphic story, but it's about a creature that infiltrates a family and starts really abusing everyone in the family. But no one can do anything because if someone tries, they're gonna get hurt or worse. And the parents and the children, they all get hurt, and it's like they can't do anything but live with this parasite in their house, this parasite that's destroying their lives and hurting them every day. And they can't talk about it, they can't do anything about it, they just have to wait it out until it goes away, and they hope it goes away without even knowing if it's gonna happen. It's really dark, but I think it's a very good parallel of the idea of hiding a family secret that's hurting everyone. And because the adults are not able to talk about it, to solve it, to do something, the children get hurt and there's nothing they can do about it. And I feel like Weapons really caught onto this idea and ran with it really well. Honestly, when Alex's POV came on screen, I knew it was gonna break my heart. I cried during that. Exactly because of this reason, I think it was really well made, with the idea of how a child experiences issues in the family that the adults cannot deal with. And the idea of parasites was really well foreshadowed all throughout the movie. It was first in Justine's dream when the whiteboard lesson was about parasites, then in Alex's POV, the lessons they were doing when he was remembering that day was about parasites. When Marcus and his husband were sitting down to eat, the documentary on TV was also about parasites. It was about cordyceps and how when they find a host in an insect, they get into the brain of the insect and they take control of the body, and they sprout there and they grow and they can do what they want with the body and make the body of the insect do what they want. And that is such great foreshadowing in what's happening, what's gonna happen the exact next scene, and also what's happening throughout the whole thing, what happened with the children, what happens with the adults that end up under the control of this parasite. Some people feel mad that the answer to what was happening was witchcraft, but I love witchcraft as a plot point. I think it can explain a lot. And the idea of this probably extremely old witch infesting a family and taking people as her own personal feeding bags. She's like a vampire, she's like a cordyceps. She's taking over the bodies and the brains and leeching off of them for her life force, and then controlling them to do whatever they want, weaponizing them, hence the title of Weapons. And people were arguing that, oh, it's not weaponizing them if she was just feeding off of them, because that means she didn't make them weapons. Never mind the fact that they are used as weapons to attack people. Each one of them is used to attack at least a person. But also weaponizing, it doesn't only mean, an actual physical weapon. Weaponizing is using in the way that she leeches these people of their life force. She uses them so much that Alex's parents are completely hollowed out and they cannot regain the way they were before, because they were under her spell and under her control for so long that she had a permanent effect on them. And we can see that for the children who are also under her for a pretty long time, they took a while to start speaking again. She's using all of these people for healing and for regaining youth and power and for continuing to live and infecting all of these people and using them. The use of multiple POVs, I think, was great because it showed us the beginning. In Justine's POV, you don't really know much of what's happening. You just know the mystery of like the children disappearing and the fact that she is the suspect because she was their teacher. But she is someone with no answer. She has no idea what was going on. She is accused and witch hunted, literally accused of doing something to make these children run away in the middle of the night. And the motif of the witch is also great foreshadowing because when they wrote witch on Justine's car, you just know that they're probably gonna go in that direction. And once you rewatch the movie for the second time, I think it's great to look at that as foreshadowing and be like, oh, it was a witch, but not Justine. And then as you go through everyone's POV, you learn more of what's happened and you gain more answers to this mystery. Every POV gives you an answer to a previous question. And I love the way that the POVs intersect and the way that they stop as soon as you can gain more answers from the next one, and when they cut to the same scene from two different perspectives to see where the other person went from that incident. And I feel that as soon as Marcus got weaponized and possessed and came after Justine, I feel like that's where the tone shifted to being not that terrifying through the mystery and the oppressive atmosphere, but being a bit more comedic. As soon as Alex's came on screen, though, that's when it became sad and tragic. But then I love Alex as a character. It really broke my heart to see him having to be a literal parent to everyone in the house and to being used by this evil witch and being so scared. Like, he's just a little kid. He's so sweet. He's so small. And it broke my heart seeing him having to cope with all of this and navigate all of this in the best way he could. He's such a smart character, though. When it comes to little kids in horror, he is the smartest I've seen. The way he figures out what to do and how to solve the situation in the end, I think it's amazing. And up until that point, he's also thinking how to keep things under control, how to keep his parents safe in a way, and how to not get hurt himself. He can't ask for help from anyone because he knows someone he loves is gonna get hurt or he's gonna get hurt, and he has to figure out what to do. And when he has the opportunity, he acts. He's such a good and smart character. The way this movie ended was so good. Just like in Barbarian, Zach Rager's other older project, the shift into humor was big, but I think it was great because it made the horrific scene of what happened to the witch at the end be so cathartic and so good by helping us laugh at what was going on. Because we all wanted that to happen. We wanted to see Alex and the children and everyone be free from this, but also making it so humorous kind of helped with that, not be so doom and gloom and in full like revenge mode. And it was amazing. Everyone was laughing. The funniest bit out of all of that was when the guy was mowing his lawn and he stopped and he just sees an old woman like, ah, and the gaggle of children going after her while screaming. That was such a perfect scene. The way that comedy people turned horror people make such good horror comedy, or just straight up horror, like the Philippa brothers with Talk to Me and Bring Her Back. I think it's because of the understanding of timing and what timing you need to land a joke. You also need that in horror in order to not take things so far that it's not fun anymore. Because a good horror also has a lot of levity and a lot of moments where you're not absolutely terrified or sad or horrified all the time. It's also moments where you can step back and take a moment, or moments that are actually funny, or moments that are really endearing. And I feel that these filmmakers really understand that, and that's why they make such good movies. Someone was mentioning that Gladys is very similar to Pennywise, and I think that's really true. Not only through the fact that she appears to so many people, like she appears to Justine, she appears to Archer, she later appears in the woods waving like a psycho, and appears in different forms to each of these people in a way that would scare them the most, like in Justine's ceiling, and then in Archer's dream being like the face of his child. He's really applying the Pennywise thing, but also through the fact that she is so wacky. Honestly, I was comparing her to Bill Cipher from Gravity Falls. I know that may seem silly, but if you've seen Gravity Falls and you know Bill Cipher, you know that he seems so wacky and random and just very hard to manage. But also when he is terrifying, and also when he uses his powers, he is terrifying as a villain. He has so much power. He has such a lack of empathy for anyone. He just doesn't care. He's gonna do what he wants in order to obtain what he wants. And that's Gladys. She's just using everyone to get what she wants, and she seems wacky, and everyone laughed the first time she came on screen fully in Marcus's office, because she is this little old lady with exaggerated makeup and a funky fit. Honestly, the first time I saw her, I thought she's iconic. And I think she's iconic even though I was rooting for her to get pulled apart because of what she did to Alex and all those children. Like, she's an evil witch, but she looks iconic. It's this kind of villain that seems wacky and you laugh because they're funny, and they may even seem like she looks not threatening. She looks like a nice old lady that is a bit annoying through her overly cheery exterior, and just like Bill Cipher, this overly cheery and overstimulating exterior is hiding the most terrifying inside of someone who's just gonna do the most horrible things and use the people for their own gain. And I love her as a villain. I love the fact that she got completely pulled apart by children. I think that was the best ending she could have had. But also, I love her as a villain. I think she's extremely well done. And in that vein, I saw there's talk of a prequel to this to explore her backstory. I am leaning towards not wanting to know where she came from, if she's human or if she's a demon, and how she started doing this and why she started. I don't need her humanized. Honestly, I'm happy thinking that she's just a demon taking human form. I think that makes her more interesting. I think many villains get ruined by trying to humanize them. But I also am thinking about this being a response to a pressure that, for example, I am a big Terrifier fan, and many people are mad that only by the third movie it seems like we're getting a bit more of the history, and they're hoping that in the last movie we're gonna get all the backstory of Art the Clown. So people are asking for the backstory, but many people aren't, and I think it depends on the filmmaker if they themselves want to explore more of that or don't. And, as someone watching the movies, I think you can only choose to not go see that if you don't want to know more and just want to stop at that, and that be your headcanon that she doesn't have a backstory if they explore further. I myself, although I would love to see something weapon like from Zack Rager, I would prefer it to be just a different movie and not going into Gladys, because the idea that she's just a very old demon like Pennywise coming to Earth to parasitically extract what she wants from happy families who are unsuspecting. I think that's a lot more interesting. The idea that maybe the real Aunt Gladys died and she was taken over in these people's lives by this demon. Again, that comes down to interpretation and what you want to see in this piece of media and how you want to see things. This is my personal opinion and my personal wants in this. Yeah, I hope I made sense with something here, because I feel like I just talked a lot. I really love this movie. I am gonna rewatch it at least once or twice before it is taken out of cinemas. I want it on Blu-ray. I want it in my house on this shelf. I want to rewatch it forever. I want to dive into it every time. It feels like every time you watch it, you notice something more and you can pick something else to chew on. I feel like it's a movie with a lot of great symbolism. Again, a lot of references. We were talking about The Shining with Danny's story mirroring Alex's and the number 217. It also has inspirations in Magnolia with the fact that everyone is going around a central miracle, and it's exploring the different POVs of the characters into that miracle and mystery that they're trying to understand. The Prisoners as well is an inspiration. I haven't seen these movies, but The Prisoners is with the idea of a child disappearing and their father, who is a very complex character, trying to grieve that and trying to understand and trying to solve and know what happened to them, mirroring Archer's grieving of his child and him trying to solve in his POV. He's just going around and trying to find clues and trying to understand things. And he's also the one that talks about how these children were like weapons trained on a heat signal. And again, he's the one that brings this weaponizing into the discussion. I just love this. I love the fact that he's being inspired by so many things. He's referencing many things. But like someone else said, a movie that references things and puts Easter eggs everywhere has to first stand on its own as a movie, as a piece of art. Because if the only draw to your piece of art is that it references stuff, it falls flat and it feels cheap and it feels gimmicky. Just like many of the things that use nostalgia bait, the referencing through songs and through legacy characters and through other ideas, but when the movie does not stand on its own, that's when it's cheap and falls flat. But the references used are actually impactful because the movie is great as it is. It's like when a musician makes a really good song that's sampling another really good song. It wouldn't work if the new song was bad and the only good thing was the sampling part. It's good because it's a great piece of art. So that's my opinion on weapons. I think I rambled for far too long, but I have many thoughts. I could talk about this for hours probably. I just wanna go back and forth and just nerd out about how much I love this movie. Again, seeing this and bring her back right after was an emotional roller coaster and an experience. So yeah, if you saw Weapons, let me know how you felt about it, and if you have a different idea of the meaning or of what Gladys could symbolize, let me know. I love seeing all the different theories people are bringing to the table. I think it makes for excellent fandom discussions in this age where we're really craving the community aspect of the movie and of thinking about what things mean and of debating with each other. So let me know, and I'm probably gonna be rambling about Bring Her Back soon because that's also a mindfuckery full of really similar things, actually, weirdly enough. Until next time, have a good one.